Hi,
Hi,
Sabrina. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Here, let me just adjust myself because I didn't realize it would like cut me off halfway. How are you? You good?
I'm good. Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing Gucci today. Doing Gucci.
That's good. That's good. I was so nervous. This is my first Instagram live since
Oh,
I've
no
joined
way.
Ravjot
Really?
Magazine.
Oh
Yeah.
my
So
gosh. Well, I'm
I'm
honored
glad
to
you're the
be the
first
first.
person I interview.
I was just gonna say, what an honor. I am absolutely pleased to be your first, and I'm sure you're gonna do great.
Thank you. Well, okay. Can you start by telling our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Ravjot Mehek Singh. I'm an activist and a filmmaker, and I predominantly use my Instagram mainly for just my personal fashion hobby and stuff like that. So a lot of my platform here is kind of dedicated to some of my film work, but predominantly just me having a place to express myself outside of the professional realm through the form of fashion or I guess the little experimental film work that I do, and I do a lot of activism on this platform as well.
Right, right. So how did you start blogging? And like, no, like why did you start blogging?
I guess it kind of ties into my passions as a child. I was always a very fashionable kid. I had this whole phase during high school when I actually used to go to school in like decked out anime costumes. So it was pretty wild. I've always been like heavy into like experimental clothing and just like alternative looks and stuff like that. And I used to do, it wasn't good, but I used to like try to photograph my looks even back then. But that was kind of before blogging was a thing. So, I mean, no one was really doing it the way that we all do it now, which is like semi-professional looking like vlogs, like everyone has one. So back then I was kind of just taking random pictures on my phone and posting them. And they're probably still here. They probably still exist on the Instagram ether, but I would not recommend that anyone goes and finds them.
Yeah, it's good that you started expressing yourself at a young age. Like that's definitely something that like builds like personality and it builds character. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, can you describe your personal style for our viewers?
Um, that's a good question. My personal style is actually kind of varies a lot. My friends always call me a bit of like a style chameleon. It kind of varies between I guess just alter like I would definitely say that I stick more to like alternative looks. So like I have blue hair and everything, and I have a lot of funky clothes. I like to get stuff with like buckles and like zippers in unnecessary places and cut out designs and stuff like that. I'm not quite sure what the term technically is for just people who have a very like edgy sense of fashion that isn't necessarily just like contained within one group. But if it could be that, I think that would be me.
Where did you get your inspiration from?
I have a lot of style inspirations. This one's a tough one. I have a lot of people on Instagram that I follow that actually inspire my style a lot. And then I take inspiration from a lot of celebrities as well. Like Lady Gaga has always kind of been my number one. She's such a unique fashion icon, and she's so unafraid to, you know, challenge norms, and I think I try to channel a lot of that in my personal style as well.
Right, right. So, what would you say is your favorite item of clothing that you own or that you've like worn before?
I have a couple that I kind of keep for like super special occasions only. There's this like blue dress that I've worn. I think I wore it on my birthday like 4 years ago or something like that, maybe 3 years ago. But it was this beautiful, like it had a quilted look to it. It had like this really unique, like Venetian design in the middle, and it has like pearls everywhere. And it's very uncomfortable to actually wear because there are pearls everywhere. So no matter which direction you like bump into something, like you're gonna get stabbed with like a little pearl. So, but that's one of my favorites. I like a lot of pieces that I like a lot of pants. which is weird because I'm like not very focused on the top often, but like if you have a good pair of pants, they can really elevate just a regular tank top as well. So I have a collection by this company called, I don't know how to speak French, but it's like Meniere de Voir or something like that. They just have the coolest joggers, and like they have satin joggers and like things with like buckles and zippers everywhere, and it just elevates pretty much any top.
Right. So like where do you usually shop? Like where do you get like any clothes from?
I shop at a lot of places, but predominantly online these days. I don't think, unfortunately, I think traditional like shops and like the mall and whatnot aren't really keeping up well with how style has been evolving and just the demand of, I guess, modern people that are stylish. So I do a lot of shopping online. So the shop that I just mentioned, Meniere de Voir, I like own so much of their collection. I'm a big fan of a lot of the designers from Dolls Kill as well. So that's a big one, and that's kind of like the main point of like edgy clothing, I guess. That's like the hub. I guess anyone who has like an alternative sense of style, they're probably gonna find it from a shop like that. Um, yeah, I have a lot of other little ones as well. I have boutique favorites like House of CB, Meshki is great. Yeah, these kind of there's like a couple.
Yeah, so do you prefer more traditional clothing or modern clothing?
I actually that's a hard one because I think traditional clothing has its own place and it has its own expression and identity. So I think I do have a special place for it in my heart, though. Is it super practical to be wearing it 24/7 and like walk around? No, not necessarily. So in terms of comfort, I definitely prefer more modern clothes or just in everyday life. I think that's definitely the way to go for me. But I would say that I like fusion looks a lot as well. Like when you merge the two together, those are fun. But for now, I'll stick to modern clothes as being like the preference.
Right, right. What has been like your favorite fashion trend so far that you've like done?
Um, this is also a good question because I have a couple, but I guess in terms of like trends, like you're asking about trends that are popular today,
Right, yeah.
I really like this ruched thing that's happening. It's like the mesh ruched trend. I have a bunch of these. I'm sorry, I know you can't see it, but this is the top here. So I have a bunch of these. I'm also big into the cutout designs that have been really popular recently. I think those two have to be my favorite. And I'm really glad that buckles came back in. Like I have a bunch of outfits where like the sleeves actually have like little buckles so they join up and
Yeah.
disconnect and it's like functional. And I think that's really fun. Like I know it used to be popular way back in the day and I'm glad that it's cycled and come back. So I have a bunch of stuff like that, but not all trends are bad. I guess
Yeah.
that's the way to put it. A lot of them are cheeky or just like trying to be, you know, edgy or cool, but a lot of them are actually pretty cool.
Yeah. I think so too. Tell me about your proudest achievement as a fashion blogger and like from I've seen your Instagram, you like advocate for a lot of topics and stuff too. So what's been your proudest achievement you've done?
That I think I'll split into a two-part answer because some of my like fashion achievements are of course very very different from just achievements on this platform in general because the platform is not solely just for fashion or anything like that. But in terms of fashion blogging, I think I've actually been invited to a very awesome exclusive Tory Burch event that happened during the COVID pandemic, actually, earlier this year, I believe. And that was a really big deal for me because, like I said, it was really exclusive. They only selected like a couple of Boston bloggers at the time. And I was just like shocked that they wanted me to be there because I was like, really? I know a lot of other popular bloggers, but I guess it's the sometimes it's not the follower count that distinguishes you, but rather the style that you present yourself with. So like a common thing I've noticed with a lot of fashion bloggers these days is they have beautiful style, all of them, and they photograph it amazingly and they all talk about these awesome things, but oftentimes it kind of merges into like one uniform fashion look kind of across the board. So I think that's probably why I was selected, because I definitely don't adhere to most of the trends or rules or, you know, conservative fashion notions. So that was really fun. I've just met, through the fashion blogging community, I've actually met so many awesome like-minded people, and it's kind of become like a route of making legitimate friendships. So if there's any one fashion blogging related, I guess, accomplishment of mine, it would definitely be that it connected me to some awesome lifelong friends. And in
Right.
terms of your second question, do you mind repeating it? It was about proudest achievement on the platform in general.
Yeah, like you're advocating for multiple topics. Like what's been your proudest achievement from doing that?
Again, there's a lot, luckily. Like, I feel blessed to be able to say that I got to work with Mina Harris recently. I worked with her a couple of times. So that was, I believe, in December, and then there was another round where I worked with her December and I believe January. So I've gotten to actually like really get involved with her team, and they're just such awesome, sweet people. And I felt like, for as an activist, I think that was a really big achievement to even be recognized by them and get to collaborate with them. At the time, I believe they were doing the Vote for Auntie campaign for Kamala Harris. So they involved me because I'm a Desi creator, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I was actually in disbelief. I was like, there's no way that she reached out and that her company Phenomenal reached out. Besides that, I mean, there's been a lot of great opportunities where I've gotten to work with very legitimate activist groups online as well. So I was featured in the same Kisan video as the Khalsa Aid people, and I thought that was a huge honor as well. So it's like these little things that like really make this platform and like what I do on it worthwhile, I think.
Yeah. So what inspired you to use your platform for like towards social activism?
I've kind of always been involved in some type of activism, though when I was younger, it was not completely pronounced. Back in the day, when I was in high school and even younger, I used to kind of have like a pretty big platform for the time, like MySpace based, because Instagram wasn't a thing yet. And I used to give like a lot of like help advice type of stuff back and forth, and it was just a wonderful space for people to share their honest feelings. So while that isn't like traditional activism or anything, I've kind of been involved in using the platform for dual purposes anyway. So I guess that kind of leaked into what I do today, where like the option came up, like, do you want to dedicate this platform to just fashion and then make a totally separate page for work and for, you know, film and activism? And I was like, no, because I just want to be me as an artist and as a person, rather than like chop myself up into like a bunch of different sub brands. So I didn't want to do that. So I was like, you know, this is just me. This is my platform. If I want to say something, I'm going to say it. I'm going to research it first to be factually correct and then say it. But I've always kind of been that way. So yeah, it just leaked into today.
That's good. What changes do you hope to see like happen in the future? Or like now?
There's a lot of change that's necessary. I couldn't even begin, I believe, if even if you asked. There's a whole situation with the farmers movement right now in India that I've been kind of actively working on. Even though we're abroad and we can't really do as much as we would want to if we were on the ground. But that's absolutely something that I want to see change. And I think social media has some capacity to change it. So I think we have a wonderful opportunity here to kind of unify as a people, whether through social media or otherwise, and kind of put pressure on a lot of foreign governments to change and kind of let them know that we are watching you. We as a society on Instagram or other platforms, just the internet is watching you. And hopefully that would keep governments abroad or even here at home from, you know, doing sketchy behavior. So that's definitely one change. I'd love to see, this is a more personal thing that I've kind of been working on, and just kind of represents me as a person. I've always kind of stood up for women, especially, but technically any human being able to express themselves as they see fit, especially if it's outside of work and it not impacting your actual job. So this happens to me a lot where like I'm a filmmaker, and of course filmmakers are, especially if you're a woman filmmaker, you have to be so rigid and like not show an inch of your body and just be so like cut and dry, straightforward, because if you are not, if you give even an inch of leniency, people will sexualize you or otherwise try to get you off the job, just because of who you are. And because I'm a female, I feel like I'm already scrutinized more than males would be. So I just really like to advocate for women, but technically anybody, being able to express themselves online, whether they're like super into like, I don't know, more provocative fashions that shouldn't impact their job outside of their platform. So these are just a couple of the little things, but there's a lot of things. This world is a messed up place, and we have a long way to go to fix it.
Yeah, I agree. So, in what ways can people get started to spark change in their communities?
It's pretty difficult at the end of the day during the pandemic to be very active in your community. But there are definitely a lot of ways, and especially when the pandemic ends, I think a lot of the community efforts like volunteering in person, those kind of things reopen. For the time being, if someone wanted to do something immediate, I actually think speaking to your friends and family goes a long way, because we forget that we have immigrant parents and they're kind of conservative and they need to know about stuff like, you know, the updates on the LGBTQ plus community and, you know, other subjects like that, or how to tackle racism. Like talking to our parents, for example, about racism towards African Americans goes a pretty long way, because now you're officially taking people out of the equation that would otherwise maybe contribute to the negative stereotypes or, you know, to the overall oppression of African Americans. So that's just an example. So talking to people, and then there's a lot of online advocacy groups that you can join and donate to. For example, if you're trying to help the farmers and you're over here in America and can't do anything about it, one way to do a little bit of good is to contribute to Khalsa Aid, for example, because they're on the ground and they're actually able to do stuff in person. So it's like these little ways to kind of get the conversation started, and then also act on it if you have the funds to do so.
Yeah. So in terms of your social media, how do you stay inspired and come up with new ideas?
It's actually super taxing. It's really hard to always come up with new ideas because it's not only your new idea. It's like you don't want to unintentionally copy someone else, which is hard not to do, actually, because like if you think about it, our brain is always taking in all of this subconscious information, and we're always seeing this imagery from other people, and that's like thousands of people to keep up with, and they're all putting out content all the time, and then you are putting out content all the time. So it's hard not to overlap and do something that either someone else or yourself, that you yourself have done before. In terms of just being innovative about it, I think a lot can kind of happen if you change locations, if you start adding elements into your work like editing, or maybe if you've only stuck to photo, if you do video now. It's like these little changes, those kind of help. Trends in this case, though I'm never like much of like a trend follower advocate, trends in this case help a lot because they're always shifting. So there's always going to be something kind of new or fresh that other people haven't caught on to that you can kind of you know, take advantage of for the time being. So it's like these little things, and then at the end of the day, a lot of ideas end up just being thrown together based on like the couple of items that you're seeing in front of you, and that like list of items always keeps shifting, so it suddenly becomes unique every time.
Yeah. So I'm going to end with, what is your favorite quote that you have?
Oof. I mean, okay, I didn't actually read this list of questions beforehand. Otherwise, I would have come with a quote prepared.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, what was that? You're lagging.
Oh, I didn't mean to put you in the spot.
Oh,
I
no,
just wondered.
I have a bunch. if I could quote an entire Lady Gaga interview, I would. But to summarize, I just take a huge amount of inspiration from her, and I think a lot of what she says resonates, especially in regards to fashion and being who you are as a human being. So she's another prime example of someone who really advocates for you being able to express yourself as you see fit and still demand the respect that you deserve as a human being when you're on the job. So I would definitely quote her if I could remember something.
Yeah. So she seems like an icon to you. That's good.
She is. I have a lot of icons, but she's definitely one of them, as I'm sure she is for many people. She's just done some
Hmm.
amazing, immeasurable work. She's another example of somebody who uses fashion and art and film and music and just all in such wonderful harmony, and it ends up becoming this one solidified brand. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions I had. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm glad you were my first interview. It
Thank
went
you.
smooth.
You did an awesome job. So I
Thank
appreciate it. I appreciate this opportunity to kind of get to speak about more of what makes me me.
Yeah, thank you. I hope we can interview again sometime.
Absolutely. I'd love to anytime.
It was nice
Thank you.
talking. Nice meeting
Have a
you.
good night, everybody. Thanks to everybody who joined.
Thank you, everyone who joined us. Okay.